Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fangirls Over 40. Today, we will be boldly going with Kavita Maharaj as she tells us about her painting the Star Trek universe. So, everyone, welcome to Fangirls Over 40. I have long been wanting to speak to our guest tonight, and her name is Kavita. Hello, Kavita. It's so nice to have you here with us. And she is a Star Trek artist. And not only is she a Star Trek artist, she's actually, I hate to say this kind of was, she's sanctioned by CBS and Paramount. Hooray! In fact, it's like we approve of everything that you do, which is really good.
Yes.
So, going through all of your wonderful art pieces that are up there, could I actually say that it all started with Spock?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's not even a, did it, didn't it? No, it definitely did. So, and this is just a handful of my pieces that I
Mhm.
had for you guys today. I think I'm currently at about 80 paintings at this point. 80 Star Trek paintings.
Wow,
Yeah.
there's some that no one's ever seen before.
There are some that I think no one's ever seen before, or actually, I should say there are some that I put out before I became licensed. And when I say I
Right.
put out, I shared it with people
Okay.
online
Yeah.
before licensed. And
Mhm.
so, some of my current fans may never have seen those pieces that I put out,
Ooh.
5 years ago or whatnot. So
It,
none of them are sitting behind me right now, but
okay.
there are about 8 pieces.
Oh, those would be so fun to see. It's like people getting that unknown Beatles song. So we get the unknown painting from Kavita from Star Trek. That would be brilliant. Someday you'll just put it out there. I'm like, here we are.
Yes.
Exactly. I suppose a lot of like us fangirls over 40. Did you grow up with the reruns of Star Trek original series?
I did. So I was born in 1976. And so at that point in time, the show was
Mhm.
actually in reruns. And I will also say that I grew up in the Caribbean. And
Yes.
so as a result, not only was it the Caribbean, but also the years that it was,
Hmm.
back in the 70s/80s, we
Hmm.
only had two television stations. And one of them only came on at 6 p.m. to give you the news and then would turn off at about, I think if I remember correctly, like by 9 p.m. it shut
Oh yeah.
down. So effectively we had one TV station. I did not grow up watching a lot of TV. We
Hmm.
were allowed to watch TV on Friday evenings and
Hmm.
Saturday and Sunday, and then during the week, no TV.
That was it.
That was it. And that was because, of course, we were supposed to be focused on our schoolwork and that type of thing. Uh,
Hmm.
I did see Star Trek on reruns at that point in time.
Okay. And who was Spock the favorite first character?
To my recollection, going back, because I've had some questions about like the formative, where did this come from, that I've asked myself. And as far as I could tell, yeah, it's always been Spock. It's always been Spock.
Oh.
And I've mentioned this, in some interviews I've done in the past and whatnot. But my parents were not supportive of my love of Star Trek, especially my dad, and he'd get angry about it actually. And yeah, I to this day I
How
actually
can you
don't
be
know
angry
what
at Star Trek? Okay.
the thing that I've come up with, and I don't know if this is what it was, but
Mhm.
um I got my dad didn't read a lot, and he didn't,
Hmm.
wasn't therefore into science fiction or fiction or anything
Okay.
like. And
Mhm.
I'm saying this is my dad, my stepfather, my dad, because I've got
Right.
there's my father, the yogi, and there's
Yes,
my
I've heard, yes.
and so my dad, it wasn't really a reader or anything,
Mhm.
intelligent, but wasn't
Yeah.
into any of that stuff. And
Mhm.
I suspect he just didn't get it. And
Mhm.
anything he didn't get, he kind of wanted it
Hmm. Yeah.
on. That's what I think it was. But I mentioned the fact that my parents were not very supportive of my love of Star Trek, and that he would actually get angry about it, because as a result, Star Trek really made me happy, and it excited me, and and there was passion for it, but there was also this awareness that this thing that lit me up made me unlovable to my parents. And so I kind of
Oh my
kept
gosh.
down low, and then years later, as an adult, etc., I started letting it kind of come out more and more. And I got to the point where I said to my husband, I'm like, I wanted to paint a painting of Spock. And
Oh,
for specific reasons, like I want to put it in the den, and then, if
yeah.
you want Yoda, I'll do a Yoda for you.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah. So then I
I love
proceeded,
it.
like, okay. So then I
Yeah.
proceeded to spend 2 years looking at photographs of Leonard Nimoy's Spock to try to
Oh,
choose
wow.
the painting I was going to do.
Which
And
Spock?
yeah, like which, like what? And so I said to him one day, I said to my husband, I can't do it. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, there's so many facial expressions and so many like body
Yes.
language positions.
Hmm.
I'm like, really speak to me. I can't choose one to paint. And he looked at me with this completely confused face and he's like, so why don't you just do a whole bunch of them?
I was just say, do them all.
Right. And because of how I'd grown up, that
Yeah.
had never occurred to me as an option.
Oh
And
my
in that
gosh.
moment,
Yeah.
my honest response was, I can do that. Like internally, I was like,
Yeah.
I can do that. Like it hadn't occurred to me. I was allowed to do more than one. It was a big step for me to allow myself to do one. Right.
To
So,
keep yourself so burdened that you could only, oh my goodness.
right. And so
Oh,
I always jokingly say that my husband lives with regret because, like I said, I am at 80 paintings at this point. 30 something of them are Spock.
yes.
So
Yes, you could we can blame our husbands, can we?
yes, absolutely. But I
That's so
have to say
wonderful.
that my husband, love and support of whatever made me happy is
Oh,
actually what has this, because it kind of just opened the floodgates that have been kept
yes.
like this, right? Going like I'm
Oh
only allowed
my.
to do.
He gave you the freedom to just take Spock everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Wow.
there was one restriction he put on me as I was painting more and more of them. He's
Yeah.
like, none of them go up in the bedroom. He's like, none of them go up in the bedroom. No spots in the bedroom.
No Spocks in the bedroom. Oh my God. Because it's quite funny because my husband said to me, I says, well, we don't have any Star Trek in the room, the bedroom. And he said, if you bring a duvet Star Trek cover in, I'm out.
That's it.
That's I'm out. I'm out. But he is a bigger Star Trek original, not bigger Star Trek original series fan than I'm, but I think because he is 8 years older than me and he grew up watching the originals, that it's really interesting how your paintings speak to different generations of Star Trek fans. Um, and I've talked to the people who are in the Coquitlam with me and just random people. I said, hey, here's some Star Trek paintings. Tell me what you think.
Mhm.
And a lot of fans gravitate to certain characters immediately. And it is really, really interesting. And as an artist, I was kind of trying and stay away from kind of like the technical bit of it, but you can't get away with. So when you started painting Spock and you were given the freedom to do so many of Mr. Spock,
Mhm.
you didn't settle on one, which is interesting because as I look at the other paintings behind you, you've only maybe done a single of the other characters.
Very
To
often.
bring their to bring
Yeah.
their essence into them, how do you connect with them into that character to bring the painting alive?
So the truth is that I think we have to go back to that question of why Spock for me? Like why
Hmm.
is it all Spock? And I really don't think this is particular to myself. I think that all of us do this, that we look at the world around us and the world around us is just a reflection of who we are. And
Mm,
so things that pull us in are the things that look most like us. And I don't just mean like look, oh look,
exactly.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's not what I really mean. I mean
Yeah, there's things
things,
inside.
yeah, where we look at things and we're like, I can see myself. I identify my
Hmm.
value system. I identify how I am, who I am, the things that push me, the things that pull me, the things that bring me angst. I identify it when I look at this. And so
Hmm.
for me, I identified myself with Mr. Spock, which is, I've heard other fans say this, and I
Hmm.
absolutely believe it. But for me, I know you said before we actually started, you said, it's going to be a fun interview, and I absolutely, but I'm going to give you a little heavy in here.
Okay, great.
And
All
that
right, bring it on.
okay. And that heavy is I grew up with a lot of abuse.
Oh
And
my.
as a result of growing up with a lot of abuse, I really had to find a way through it as a child.
Right.
And in
Okay.
order to find a way through it, there had to be a lot of compartmentalization.
Yes.
Me
Hmm.
and Mr. Spock, he compartmentalizes a lot.
Yes, he
Okay.
does. Hmm.
There was also, as part of that abuse, there was a tendency that I would be on my own, constantly on my own. And I don't just mean, I mean,
Hmm.
literally like left on my own to sort it out, to figure it out, to
Hmm.
get it. And it really appealed to me, not just with Mr. Spock, but with the entire, when I watched TOS, the
Hmm.
entire way when there was a problem, they would help each other. When there was a
Yes.
problem, they worked together to sort it
Hmm.
out because they cared about one another.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Hmm.
because they had to, start from dead.
Hmm.
It was because they were what I saw as a good family,
Hmm.
effect. And
Yeah.
so, as a result of the abuse that I grew up with, and the fact that I constantly had to sort things out myself, watching Mr. Spock have that internal struggle where they're my emotions.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking for him,
Absolutely.
have my emotions,
Hmm.
and there is the what is the logical thing to do? How do we deal with
Yeah.
this situation that's taking place and whatnot? So I really identified with him. And
Yes.
one of the things that I also identified with him for was what I consider to be a sense of nobility.
Hmm.
And as egotistic as it sounds to say,
Hmm.
I identify myself with nobility, what I'm really saying is
Hmm.
I believe in being a noble human being. I really
Hmm.
do. I
Yes.
believe in being a noble human being, um, doing what I consider to be the right thing, which is often the hard thing. And so as a result, watching Mr. Spock constantly be noble, not because it was easy, but because
Hmm.
that was the thing that met his value system. Again, it really spoke to me. So you asked about, like, I've done one-offs of all these other characters. How do
Right.
I me, what I do is I look at that character and
Hmm.
I do one thing first is to go, can I see your nobility? But then there's the other part of it, which is, can I see you failing at your nobility? Because some of the characters fail. And I fail too, right? Like I don't always succeed. We
Yeah.
all
None
fail
of us.
sometimes,
Hmm.
right? But the truth is I just keep trying to, with
Hmm.
every situation that comes up in my life, I try to be noble, right?
Yes.
And so I'm going to tip a little bit this way. And of course, we have Connie Singh back there, and
I love that. I love that one so much.
he's a really good example of a character that when
Hmm.
I met him, it was about what happens when we fail, what happens when our ego takes over.
Hmm.
And so it was still a conversation about nobility. And it was still a conversation effectively about myself, but in
Hmm.
a way it represents the times where I have failed,
Hmm.
the times where my ego has taken over, right? And we know what happens to Khan and then the fallout, right? And
Yeah.
this for all of us when we can't live
Hmm.
up to our values. So
Yes.
that's how I've approached every single character that I do. I try to see myself in there and the things that are important to me. And that's what the
Hmm.
conversation starts off as.
Yeah.
Who are
Because
you?
it, yes, because as I look at the characters behind you, played by obviously real people, not only are you drawing that fictional character, you're still bringing forward that actual person's own personality as well, and the personality, the character they're bringing through there. Like you said, or where I actually had heard before that Leonard Nimoy had contacted you about his painting at some point. Is that true?
Was a friend of Leonard Nimoy. So
All
unfortunately,
right.
I did not start my paintings until Leonard Nimoy had passed away.
Oh, I remember that day actually.
So yes, and
Hmm.
so as a result, he has never seen any of my pieces. His family has, and I've
Oh,
actually
wow.
in collaboration with his family as well.
Okay.
So there's a piece that's not behind me, but if you go onto the Retrospect Studios
Hmm.
website, under the special editions, right at the bottom of the special editions, there's
Hmm.
a Remembering Leonard piece.
Yes, I saw that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mostly a blue and white piece. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look at it, you'll see that the pattern work that I put into it is like smoke at the bottom.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so that was done in collaboration with Julie Nimoy, his daughter, and her
Oh, that's
husband.
so nice.
And the idea there was it was a piece to remember him, but also to speak to his history with smoking and COPD, etc. And the idea was
Wow.
that image that I had painted and created, I also gave permission for the American Lung Association to utilize that
Wow.
image for their campaign to raise awareness for COPD. So even though Leonard Nimoy himself never saw any of my
Mm-hmm.
pieces, his family has approved every single one of the pieces
Wow.
that I've released.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually specifically his wife, Susan Nimoy, has done the
Mm-hmm.
approval of those.
Yeah.
But when someone contacted me, it was actually an old friend of Leonard Nimoy's, because he was gone by then, and this
Yeah.
friend
Mm-hmm.
by the paintings.
Wow. That's amazing. Now, the COPD, that speaks to me because I didn't know the story behind the painting. Now, my father has COPD.
Right.
So that is that those little things that when people kind of go and they'll look at your website, the paintings, to know the little stories behind each of the paintings and why they're done. I think that's how art speaks to people, not just by first looking at it.
Hmm.
You delve inside the painting. You're not just looking at your favorite Star Trek character. You're looking at so much more than that. And I think that is just absolutely amazing. So on foot of that, I was just gonna say, do you ever get a chance to speak to any of the actors who've done your paintings of?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely. And some of the pieces I've done in collaboration with the actor. So I'm just going to tip my camera a little bit
you
here. You
go
can see
ahead.
in the
Yeah.
front here, you can see Kate Mulgrew there. So
Yes.
that piece was done in collaboration with her. And I'm actually going to move the con for a second.
Oh, it's
Uh,
all right.
so
So,
the
oh
cat
wow.
that is right at the bottom of the piece. There's her famous coffee that's swirling up.
Oh yes. There's coffee in that nebula. Yes, there is.
Like this piece, in collaboration with Kate, I was supposed to actually get to meet with her in person
Hmm.
at CLB last year, but
Right.
unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it, and that was because of the actors' strike. She didn't feel comfortable coming
Of
to
course. Yeah.
that. So I'm supposed to actually get to meet chat with her this year.
Right.
Um, I, very often what will happen is I will start a piece, and
Hmm.
then the actor will find out about the piece that I'm doing, and
Of
then
course it is.
chat with me. But an
So I was gonna
example,
say, yeah. So I was saying there, do they know about it beforehand, during, after? Is it
most of the time it's during,
okay?
sometimes it has been after, but actually Nichelle Nichols,
Oh, I love the book.
yes. So Nichelle Nichols actually, she commissioned two pieces from me, and both of those pieces are actually on the Retrospect website. So those two
Wow.
pieces she commissioned for me, and so they, there are prints in her personal collection.
Right.
Uh, are the Kiss and the
Yes.
Mirror Uhura, which are both on the special editions page. So that
So
one was
beautiful.
because she commissioned me to do it. She knew about it ahead of time,
Right.
and
Hmm.
I worked on it, etc. for her. So
That's
it's in a variety of ways in which I've had the interactions, which is great.
mhm.
I really enjoyed getting to know her because I remember sitting down and chatting with her, and honestly, it felt like sitting down with my grandmother and just having a conversation. Lovely lady.
Oh, I mean, and that's the now during COVID, for all of us, my husband and I did the online meet and greets with some of the actors, and I got to talk to William Shatner and Jonathan Frakes. And I don't see a #1 painting back there yet.
And I really want to do his painting. I have a funny story to tell you.
Oh, good.
I'm not shared with anybody but my husband, who got a laugh out of watching it happen. But
Oh
the
my.
first Star Trek convention I ever got to go to was, when I started these,
Uh-huh.
and so then we're vendors and at this convention and whatnot. So the day is done. One of the days is done. We pack up. And, it's just a stream of people leaving the convention, and I'm toting my prints behind me. And as I'm walking, coming straight towards me is Jonathan Frakes. And
Mhm.
he looks at me in the eye and he smiles at me, and my mind just goes completely blank. I can't even know, I don't remember his name.
Oh no, really? Oh,
I just go blank. And I smile at him, and the only thing that comes out of my mouth is, in this cracked voice, "Hello, sir."
oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. That is the best.
It's
Oh,
the
because you're
sweetest
like, what's his name? Like, I have called some actors by their character name before, and it is so embarrassing.
I know, the thing I thought to myself afterwards was, well, at least it made sense what you said.
It did. It did. You weren't far off the mark at all. Oh my
Yeah,
God. Hello,
it was
sir. Oh,
like,
that's
oh my God, it
so
was the
great.
only thing that could come out. "Hello, sir."
That's and then what did you just walk on? You
Smiled
did.
at me
Just
again. I
oh
smiled.
my God. I
And then
dare I did.
so yes, I have found him to be a very sweet human being, and
Oh
I
my
like
goodness.
meeting people I like.
Yes. I only had 2 minutes with him on the chat talk thing,
Yes.
but he was so warm, so engaging, just started talking. And I mean, it, I remember when the first time I saw him as Riker in Next Gen. And for me at the time, I was in seventh and eighth grade, and I thought, I'd love him to be my teacher. That was like my first thought of Jonathan Frakes. And I'm like, dude, let's sit down for a beer. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. But I would love to see a painting of him in his Admiral Riker. I think that would be so stoic. That would be amazing. There's a hint.
Absolutely, I agree. And
There's a hint.
actually, a few months back,
Uh-huh.
Paramount contacted me and asked, which was so unusual, I have to say, that I was shocked at this.
Oh.
Um, Contacted me to ask if I wanted to expand my contract. That's what shocked me, is that they don't usually volunteer that. So I
Oh.
said, yes, I would love that. I would love Strange New Worlds, and
Yes.
I would love Picard, under my licensing. And so
Mm-hmm.
they actually went back to legal on their end, and
Mm-hmm.
they contract. So I have both of those. Hence the fact
As
that my painting was of Pike, right?
yeah, we
Uh,
have to talk about the hair.
well, I have to say, the way it is, it's the painting's tipped back, and
Uh-huh.
as a result, the perspective makes his hair look a little smaller than it actually is. So I'm just gonna
Yes.
pull
Let's
poor
let's see
boy.
him. Let's see him. Oh yes, there's the hair.
Let's see if I can give you
There's
an angle. Yeah, you see
oh
how
you
it
can
it starts change. It's so the camera is warping what you see. So
yes, exactly.
the
Yeah.
hair is actually just big enough. But it's
Didn't you
funny.
say did you say in one of your posts that the painting spoke to you to make his hair higher?
Yes, I said I was all done the painting, and I photographed it. I, put out an email, a post to say I was all done. And then the next night, I get into bed, I shut off the light,
Uh-huh.
and I look at the photo of the painting, and I'm like,
Damn
his
it.
hair. Yep, exactly. Damn it. And my dog has gotten into bed with me. She's all cuddled up. And I was intending to go to bed early that night. And I'm like, ugh. So I get out of bed. She jumps out of bed. I go and I paint and whatnot. I spent some time painting, and then I take a photo. I'm like, okay, all done. I shut off all the lights. I get back into bed. My dog jumps back in. I look at him like, damn it. The lights go back on. My dog jumps back out of bed. I get back out and
Oh.
start painting again.
Well, do you know what? We need to find the hairstylist from Paramount who came up with that idea, and we need to sit them down and have a chat because that's a lot of height on that hair. I mean,
That
that
is
really
a
is.
lot of height. It is absolutely a lot of height.
I mean, you can. I talked with John Jackson Miller about the hair, and he goes, well, on the planet in my book, it's flat because he's no product and he's no hair dryer. And I thought, you know what, that makes a hell of a lot of sense, John. I'm
Yeah.
going with that. That's good. So
Well,
I
and
mean,
when you look at him in some of the seasons, you're like, oh my God, he does look like Johnny Bravo. He does look like that
oh
comic
my
book
God.
character,
Yes, he
right?
does.
And so
Children under 30, Johnny Bravo's something we'll have to talk about. So
And so I have to admit that I pulled his hair back from that Johnny Bravo edge, because I'm like, he should not look like a cartoon character. So it needs to be tall, but not so much that I'm like Johnny Bravo.
Has Anson reached out to you about the painting yet?
Not yet. I am hoping that once it's because it hasn't gone through its approval yet.
Oh, that's
And
okay.
usually when I am finished a painting, I'll immediately start the approval process if I'm intending to
Right,
release.
right.
But this I'm actually intending to release as a season. So if you go onto the
Oh,
Retrospect Studios website, you'll notice up at the top it'll say,
the
about,
seasons. Yes.
it'll say collect. So if you go to
Okay.
collect, it gives you the options of seasons, special editions, and then it'll give you the option of digital print. So the seasons, I tend to release at 3 in a row, like 3 together.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Whereas special editions, they're released as, here's the special edition, this piece. And
Okay.
so I'm intending to do a Strange New World season. So every season has also stayed within a what Paramount calls a property, right?
Okay.
So
Right.
and TOS or TNG
Right.
or Voyager,
Mhm.
right? So this
Mhm.
season that I want to release will be a Strange New World. So I actually did my sketch last night for the Spock from Strange New Worlds, which will be my very first non-Leonard Nimoy.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
So yeah, so I'm intending to start
That
painting
is.
that.
And I'm now my head's going into what position, what feeling is this gonna be? Which
Right.
Spock? Oh, you're gonna have us all guessing. And do you have who's coming after Spock? Or is there you don't
Well,
know yet?
I asked the question of my fans. I said, other than
Hmm.
Pike and Spock, who would you like to
Hmm.
see? And quite a few fans responded, and I have to sit down and tally up all the responses. Because it's funny, because there are certain
Hmm.
characters that really appealed to me and that I want
Hmm.
to do. At the same time, there reasons that I might choose not to do them, that choose to do another. So what I mean by that is,
Really?
for example, I really like Mabenga. I really like
Yes. Oh, that'd be a great one.
I like him as a character. I
Yes.
think the actor is doing a fantastic job.
Mhm.
It really pulls at my heartstrings, because the moment I saw him, I said, that's Mabenga, even though I didn't know who
Oh,
he
I
was
did
yet.
too. I knew
Oh,
straight away.
yeah.
I was so amazed and so happy that they brought him on. I said, this is the
Yeah.
best thing that they have done. Now, to be fair, Star Trek has not stepped a foot wrong since they brought everything on board. I mean, they're hitting 1,000
I'm
straight across the board. There's nothing wrong with anything they put out.
so
Like,
I'm really happy with what they've done with Strange New Worlds. I really am,
yes,
you know.
absolutely.
So I mean, I want to do Mabenga, but there's the other part
Yes.
of me that's like, I would like a female character. So
I have a suggestion.
okay.
I have Erica, she flies the ship.
Yes, she loves the ship.
She
So
flies the ship.
there has been some suggestions for her. There's been
Hmm.
also a lot of suggestions for Chapel.
Oh, yes. I was
And
almost going to say she'd be a given, kind of,
yeah. And then
but
there's
I
the
just, mhm.
yeah of number one. A lot of people have asked for number one. So
Oh,
I actually want to sit down and
yeah.
put together a
Hmm.
spreadsheet and see, in this case, like, because there are so many that I actually want to do. And in this moment, I want to see what do fans want? Who speaks to them? And
Hmm.
then I'm going to look at who speaks to them and go, do they speak to me? Like it needs to also
It
speak,
has to be.
right?
Yes,
But
it
I
so
also
does.
want to give to my fans. So it's like, what
Absolutely.
they want, does it speak to me?
Hmm.
Do I move in that direction? So I actually
I
haven't
love it.
yet decided on the third
Okay.
one.
Oh, good. We're so excited about that. It's quite funny because I made a list of the characters I would so love to see, and I took one from every type of Star Trek.
Yes,
And
okay.
so from the original series, and goes on your Khan one, I would like Marla MacGyver's Khan's partner from Space Seed.
Okay.
Of her, yeah, the hair, but of her painting Khan, a
Yes,
picture of her painting Khan, which would be
yes.
interesting. Next generation, Wesley. We gotta love Wesley. Some of us love Wesley.
And you know what?
Um, yeah,
When you said that, immediately I thought, oh, and his uniform would be his old uniform.
the old one.
Be really neat to
Mhm.
paint. Like from my
Mhm.
perspective, I kind of got excited there. I was like, ooh, that might be nice with the gray and then the kind of
The
rainbow color.
kid, yeah,
Yeah. like, that'd be kind of nice to paint.
The Shut Up Wesley shirt. That's what we call it. The Shut Up Wesley shirt. Now, this is my favorite character in all of any Star Trek. And I don't know why it's come to this, but Garak from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, I know a few fans who'd be like right on there with you, but
I got, pardon?
you don't know why.
I do, I do and I don't. He's so intriguing, and I think his arc and storyline was just so good because he was always quite aloof, and then at the end you just saw all of his emotion, everything about him. And that the part with him and Zial just crushed me totally. Just I don't think I've actually cried that much about Star Trek ever, except for that. Voyager, Chakotay. I would love to see Chakotay. Discovery. I bet you no one's ever thought of this. Tig Notaro, the engineer. I love her. I think she's just really cool. But what do you say? Now, seeing as how you've got Picard now, Laris is my favorite character.
Laris.
So his Romulan
yes.
Yeah.
I just finished. I know I'm a little bit late to this party, but I just finished watching the 3rd season.
Right. Okay.
And I have to admit, there was that moment I'm like, what about Laris? Right? It's like she disappeared. And I'm like,
where'd she go? I know. In fact, I talked to Jonathan Frakes about her. I said, she's my favorite. Yeah. I like her a lot.
An interesting character with a lot of strength. And I feel like there's a ton of background in there for her.
Oh, I would love to know her story. Really, truly. I think she'd be amazing. So I'm going to end with just a couple of just other questions. You said you go to conventions and you take your art with you. And I asked, I would ask this. I'm going to edit that out because I just ate my tongue, but real quickly. So yes, I'm going to edit that out. Anyways, so when you go to conventions and you have your stall up and everything like that, is there a particular memory or story of something kind of quite out of the ordinary or fun that happened at one of the conventions for you, besides calling Riker sir?
That's that one. There have been so many wonderful, and I really mean this, so many wonderful experiences going to the conventions. My very first one, the one where the Riker story occurs.
Yes.
My very first one, actually, before we went, I got a call from Paramount, and they said, Bill Burke wanted to speak to me. That he was the vice president of consumer products at CBS at the time. Would like to speak to you, and I'm like, huh? And they said, right? They said, yeah, he heard that you're going to SDLV, and he would like to meet you. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So we arranged for a phone call because of when I was going to get in and whatnot. So we arranged for a phone call instead of me meeting him at the hotel. And I chatted with him, and he said, we'd like to interview you on stage. And so for me, and so I said yes.
Wow.
But for me, there was just this, I'm like, I cannot believe, remember, this is a kid who has loved Star Trek all her life, but felt like she was not allowed to express this love for it, and has always wanted to go to a convention. I'm going to my very first Star Trek convention ever as a licensed vendor, and now they've asked to interview me up on stage. My mind was just like, how is this my life? Right? And so all of those things were just a mind-blowing experience for me.
Wow.
But last year, Creation, who runs SDLV, which is the largest Star Trek convention in the world, Creation gave me a 1,700 square foot gallery at the convention.
Wow.
And they've asked me to come back again for the gallery this year.
Oh,
and
how wonderful.
It was phenomenal. Like, and fans responded so well. It was a lot of work to set it up, but fans loved it. I loved it. I'm so looking forward to doing it again. Like, and so you asked me that question about, there's so many stories.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We all have our wonderful convention stories. I mean, my goodness. But the last thing I'll say with you here tonight is that you've done so much for the fans themselves. and bringing the characters to life so we can have like a little piece of them in our homes and share them. And just to say thank you so much for sharing your time, your talent, and your love of Star Trek with all of us. And we hope that someday we'll be able to see you at one of the conventions. It'd be great.
I would love that, and it is my honest pleasure, and I actually would like to say thank you to my fans for being so supportive all these years,
That's
and I honestly love interacting with them and having them follow the world, could be interested and have questions and whatnot, and it honestly brings me joy too, so thank you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Fangirls Over 40. A big thank you to Kavita Maharaj for joining us. Be sure to check out all our previous podcast episodes on all podcast channel platforms. May the force be with you, and may you enjoy your favorite fandoms today.